Yeah. Go live. All right. I think we are live. All right, cool. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Robert Lyon. I've got Callum Bailey here. So we are the co-owners of Client Success Club, where we help people get access to high-paying remote CSM jobs, as well as if you're a business owner out there, we have a lot of highly trained CSMs that'll help you scale your business, and basically change your life with the ability to get your time back and help your clients and be awesome. Yeah, I'm excited, man. This is the first one. We're going to try and do this every week, and just kind of keep rolling them out. But we've been helping a lot of people. I mean, we had I'd say 5 people land a job just in the last 2 days, which is pretty sick. So these are high paying remote CSM roles. And, it's just really good because nowadays everybody needs a little bit more help and everybody needs a little bit more money, right? So to be able to work remotely is kind of a game changer for a lot of people. I think we'll get into it. I'm just going to add the questions up here now, though. So I'll let you kind of run it, Callum. What is a high ticket CSM?
Yeah, really good question. So for a lot of you watching this, this may be the first time you've maybe ever heard of the term high ticket CSM, right? You've probably heard of closers, appointment setters, the whole 9 yards. But when it comes down to high ticket CSM, it seems to be like this new thing on the block, right? But one thing to keep in mind is it's not a new thing on the block. This is a role that's actually been around, especially in the corporate space, for decades. Okay, so the principles remain the same. That just in the corporate world, where these businesses, they need sales reps, they need SDRs, they need people on the front end in order to get people, in order to get business, right? In order to enroll people into their products or their services. It's the exact same methodology of how any remote online high ticket service-based business operates as well, right? Although people may not think that they operationally manage the same as a corporate business, it literally is, right? It's still a business at the end of the day, and therefore they still have all of these key hires in these high ticket service-based businesses. Now, there's a few nuances as to why, some of the roles in some of these high ticket service-based businesses are a lot more lucrative. And that's for a number of different reasons, right? First of all, they're high ticket, and it is literally what it says on the tin. So a lot of these businesses are selling things, digital products, services, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. I mean, Robert, I'm sure you can attest that we've got the Grant Cardones of this space, right, that are selling packages for 60K, 100K plus, right? But you kind of get the point here. And the biggest difference here is that along with selling at high ticket, because all of these companies and the world really is making this shift to no longer pay for a big swanky office and no longer having, a huge coffee rotor and all of these huge overheads they need to pay for. As a remote-based company, you have significantly higher profit margins. So what does that mean then? If you're, not only if you're the business owner for this company, but also that gets fed down, okay, that drips through the employees that work for that company. If that company has a lot higher profit margins, if they're making way more money, then so will you be able to at some of these positions. And I'm sure, you'll be familiar with how much, people are obviously making that transition from corporate sales to high ticket sales for the exact same reason, just like people are going from the corporate account manager space, the corporate CSM space, transitioning over to becoming a high ticket CSM, because obviously you can make significantly more money in doing so, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, I was literally doing research on coaching offers yesterday, and they're charging, $50,000, $30,000 for 3 months. And it's the reason that these companies need CSMs is because the standards are very high now, right? As a client, if I'm going to pay 20 grand for something, I want somebody's attention 24/7, 7 days a week until I get whatever was promised to me, right, for that payment. And that's why the CSMs are in such high demand. So there's the front end, which is sales and marketing, and then there's the back end, which is almost always the high ticket CSMs who are in the works, doing the job, getting people the results. And I don't know, I think it's just really powerful. So let's move on, I think, to the next one, unless you got anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. If you just kind of use, the analogy, as I just mentioned, of if you just really understand that these high ticket businesses do operate in the exact same way, then it kind of all makes sense, right? And obviously, as a high ticket CSM, you're allowed to get way more benefits of that. Number one, obviously being remote, you're not having to go into the office. But number two, because of all of these higher ticket prices, just think of the difference in upsell commissions, right? If you're in the corporate world, you're probably getting maybe like, a quarterly bonus. That's kind of your upsell commissions, right? Or maybe on a few $100 phone contract upsell, so on and so forth. Whereas in the high ticket space, me and Robert can speak from firsthand experience. As a high ticket CSM, if you're upselling people into a 50K mastermind, 60K mastermind, and you're only getting 10% of that, right? Just start to do some maths. Like, just start to think of how some of these numbers can really sort of ramp up. And that doesn't even include the, obviously the base pay that you can get as well. So very, very lucrative position. And hopefully that, provides a little bit more context. So you can kind of see the relationship and why everybody are making the, transition over at the moment.
Yeah. And then CSM stands for, Client Success Manager. The big difference between the high ticket CSMs that we're doing is like this, we're not helping people do like customer service, right? This isn't like some sort of tech job or some sort of corporate America job where you're on the phones and you're like, helping answer like dumb little tech questions. This is like you're hands-on, you're trying to help the client have an impact. You're their coach, you're their guide, you're the Sherpa, right? And you're helping people get real results, which is another thing I think that we needed to just hit on about the high ticket CSM stuff. Sure. So this next question just came from Reddit. So if you guys are listening out there and you have CSM questions or questions on how to get a CSM role, or how to hire CSMs, drop them in the comments and we'll be able to answer them on these weekly kind of Q&As, right? But the next one did come from Reddit. So a lot of people on Reddit are like, how do I find remote work opportunities and avoid scams, right? Because there's a lot of just BS out there. Actually, one of my girlfriend's brother, they had a job where they would get packages from some company and then they'd have to ship them out, and they did a whole bunch of work for 2 weeks and then they never heard from them again and they never got paid. So do some research on the companies that you're going to apply to work for. Being a high ticket CSM is a real career. There's tons of money you can make and it can really change your life. But what else do you think, Cal, when it comes to finding remote work opportunities and then avoiding scams?
Yeah, very, very good question. So I think the word scam, right, floats around when it comes down to any like new opportunity, right? Everyone's like, it's almost too good to be true. They don't believe it. But again, if you just go back to what I just then mentioned in terms of these are all legitimate businesses, right? I mean, just think about it. Influencers, YouTubers, like they're absolutely everywhere, right? Everybody's got a following. Now you may be thinking, okay, then how are they making all of their money? Is it through YouTube ad revenue? Maybe, right? Sponsorship deals? Maybe. But I can guarantee you that like 90% of them have some form of digital product or digital service that they're selling. Okay. Mm-hmm. As we've already touched on, these are still businesses, right? They're still businesses and they operate in the exact same way. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind is that, yes, there are a bunch of like new opportunities coming around. I understand why you may think there's a scam, but if you just look at it logistically, that, in the last 5 years, especially, since COVID, everybody's making a transition. I've already touched on the reasons why. There's higher profit margins, there's more money to be made. So if you just keep those two things in mind when it comes down to these opportunities that are floating about, that should really kind of help you be put at ease and know that actually this is, just the way the world's going, right? It isn't something that's, people are trying to kind of scam you on. Now, the second thing to that is that, okay, so how do you go about finding them? And this is like a question we get asked all of the time, because one thing to keep in mind is that these opportunities are completely different to a corporate CSM role. So you may be watching this, you're already in like a corporate account manager, you're a corporate CSM, you're like, there's no way that, this you can make that as a CSM. There's no way that you can do this remote. There's no way, And that's because a lot of these roles that maybe you searching on Google, right? These types of high ticket companies, they're not advertising on the traditional job boards that all of the corporate companies use, which is exactly why we're a company, right? Because we specialize within this kind of high ticket space. So that's also one thing to keep in mind if you're thinking how, this might not be legit. If you type in on Google CSM and you're just hit with the normal traditional CSM opportunities that you find. So how do you go about finding the high ticket CSM opportunities? Well, as I just then mentioned, like they're all staring you straight in the face. You've got influencers, you've got, people who have a brand on social media, really, YouTubers, any of these guys who are active on social media with a really large following. What's the biggest way for them to monetize that following? Again, they have digital products, they have coaching programs, they have courses, they have all of these different types of communities and services that they're selling people into. So that's kind of, tip number one, is try and identify a lot of these social media influencers, YouTubers. And I guarantee you probably 95% of them, right, do have one of these businesses. And ultimately, therefore, as we mentioned, they need sales reps and they also need CSMs to manage those clients inside of that community. Number two, another thing to keep in mind, and ultimately this is a reason why this is such a lucrative opportunity as opposed to becoming like a closer or an appointment setter, is because you naturally will attract a legitimate business, right? You will attract a company that has already got loads of clients, already doing a lot of revenue for a number of reasons. I mean, number one, if you're a company, okay, if you're like a brand new, new guy on the block that tries to create like a program or have a digital product to sell, you've only got a few clients. Number one, you do not have the money to pay a CSM salary every single month. And number two, you just don't have enough clients for it to even register in your brain that you need help with managing those clients because you only have 2 clients, right? So it's one thing to keep in mind. So that therefore means that you automatically attract the businesses that, number one, they are signing a lot of clients every single month. They're inundated with just this overflow of clients that they need help with. And number two, they can afford to pay for somebody to come in and pay obviously for some help, which is in the form of a high ticket CSM to kind of take the pressure off and kind of manage these people inside the community. So I think that kind of ties in with like the scam question, right? Is the great thing about a role like this is that you're attracting legitimate businesses, because no business below $50,000 a month,
right,
$500,000 a year is going to be interested in something like this.
Yeah, you have to be bona fide, and you have to have a lot of customers to be able to hire customer success managers. And being a CSM is like one of the best roles I would say you can get as a remote worker, right? That or coding or maybe sales, right? Those are like the top 3, I would say, like roles that you could possibly get online to work remotely. So if you're doing other stuff, just look up the business's reputations before you apply. Don't do anything that's kind of on like probably Telegram. Even WhatsApp might be a little bit of a red flag, but at least in the US. But just do your research before you kind of go all after these like kind of obscure remote jobs. CSM is a real opportunity, and it's for people that really want to get into the high ticket space, which I think kind of takes us to the next question, Callum. Like, what types of businesses need high ticket CSMs?
Yeah, exactly. So just expanding on what I previously said, right? Influencers, YouTubers, so social media guys. I mean, not all the time, but it's definitely the most common because they have an audience and therefore they need something to monetize their audience with, right? And obviously the easiest way to do that is by creating a digital product, a service that they can provide to those people. Now, that being said, obviously there are still loads of other companies out there that they don't necessarily have a big brand or social media presence online. But I'd say linking back before, the easiest ones to find are those that have a really high social media presence. Other businesses, so you've got things like marketing agencies is a big one. Okay, you've got coaching, consulting. And again, you've got people who are selling some form of digital products on there as well. And for a number of reasons. Obviously, we've spoken about number one, they sell high ticket stuff. But number two, the day-to-day of like a CSM for these businesses is very much just like relationships, right? Yeah. It's just relationship building. It's being that middleman between the client and the service. Okay, that's pretty much it. The day-to-day is quite literally just jumping on those one-on-one check-in calls, responding to any specific questions that they have via Slack, and ultimately just making sure that, the clients are kind of doing the thing in order to get the results. Whereas like a personal trainer in the gym, you could go in the gym by yourself and go and figure it out. But there's a reason why people pay personal trainers. It's because number one, they want people to make sure they show up to the gym, right? Holding them accountable. Number two, they want to make sure that somebody's there to give them motivation to do the things. And number three, it's also just so you have an expert there that you can go to and ask questions. And that's literally, in a nutshell, what a CSM is doing for all of these different service-based companies.
Yeah. I mean, I think if there's like 3 categories, it's like coaching businesses. Like, let's say you would hire a real estate coach to help you learn more about real estate to start buying properties. There's service businesses, which would be like, I have a funding company. There's also like service, I think, is kind of a service business where like you're setting up people's ads and creative. And then the third one I think is tech, right? And tech is you're essentially helping people learn new softwares and how to implement the stuff into their business, right? So I think those are the big three categories that hire CSMs. Again, the coaching one and the service base are probably the biggest, but tech is just like a monster. And when you're looking for a CSM role as a tech, you really don't want to end up as like a customer support person who's like just typing on the thing. You want to be like in with like a startup, or you want to be in with like a Salesforce, something that's tangible. But those are like the three main buckets, I would say, businesses that are hiring high ticket CSMs.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. And then the next one would be, why a high ticket CSM is now in so much demand. What do you think about that, Cal?
Yeah. So again, touch on a lot of the points I've already mentioned. Look at the way the world is moving, right? We've got even corporate companies. I mean, that should say a million words in itself, right? We've got all these corporate businesses are now seeing the potential of, you're able to access more talent, right? Because rather than before, where you were only limited to hiring people from your geographical location, just around maybe like a 2 to 3 mile service radius of where you live, you now have access to the entire world, right? No matter how good you are, because a lot of these companies now can operate remotely, you get way higher caliber of people that you can that you can service. Another huge reason is, again, if we just look at the huge influx that we're seeing, YouTubers, social media presence, I don't know particularly the stats. I know that by 2030, this coaching space is projected to do 300 billion in revenue, right? So that should say a billion words to you in itself, right? And just noticing that this is a huge trend. We've got platforms like TikTok. Everybody there is like coming up with these brands. Ultimately, we're going to see that natural progression of like all of these young entrepreneurs that are pinging about. They've got all of these new ideas, and again, they still need all of these roles. They're going to need salespeople. They're going to need CSMs. So you just really need to look at the way the world is going at the moment. And as long as you're not too naive to see that this is like a huge growing industry, then it should be pretty self-explanatory as to why this is so in demand right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is like the economy, right? So like as a business owner, in order to keep a business open, you have to make a lot of money, right? And in order to make a lot of money, you have to have a lot of customers. And if you have a lot of customers and you're the business owner, it becomes overwhelming, right? So it gets to the point where in order for your business to continue to grow, you have to keep hiring CSMs to help you manage the customers. And also as a business owner, so you don't, pull your hair out every night, you need a line of defense. You need really solid people. The biggest thing in business is taking care of your customers and taking care of your team. Right. So your team is your CSMs. And if you take care of your customers and your team, they'll take care of you. So in order for businesses to continue to grow, they have to ramp up their marketing and get way more customers just to stay open because of the way that the economy is, because it's just so expensive. So that means that they have more customers, which means they need more CSMs. And this is just going to keep growing. And more people are going to get these high ticket CSM roles, and more business owners are going to need them to survive, right? So I think that's a big key part to it.
Yeah, I mean, just like see every single business. I'm sure maybe for a small section of people, or maybe a large section of people that are watching this who are familiar with the high ticket closers, the high ticket appointment setters, you will know that every single business, they hire one appointment setter, they hire one closer. Eventually, as they scale, they're gonna need another one, right? So just to be narrow-minded and think, oh, this is just like a quick flyby thing. It's like, no, for every single one of these companies, the same thing happens with managing these clients. These companies will get to a stage where they need to hire that first CSM, but a few months down the line, they're going to need another one. They're going right, and that's it. You have a CSM team, you have a sales team. So these companies will always be in huge demand of needing somebody that's able to come in and ultimately service these clients and make sure they get great results.
Yeah, I think that was good. And then I guess the last one's kind of fun. What are the top 5 activities of a great CSM? What comes to mind when you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bit more of a long-winded answer here, but I think it's quite important for people who are trying to figure out if it's the right role for them. And one thing that is really good about a role like this, especially within the high ticket industry, is you'll know there are so many different types of like niches of coaching consulting businesses out there. I mean, we talked about if you're helping people to get funding for their business, if you're coaching people, fitness coaches, we have mindset coaches, lifestyle coaches. We had one the other day, like a music coach. They help people start their own music career. So there are so many different types of niches for these coaching businesses, which means that for you, if you're looking for a role that you're truly passionate about, there is bound to be one out there where you literally get to speak to your people every single day, right? So I use the example, let's say right now you're watching this, you're a big fitness guy or girl, right? You eat and breathe the gym, you eat dumbbells for breakfast. Like fitness is just your passion, your thing. Well, do you think you're going to have more passion and more or enjoy your role better working as a CSM for a fitness coaching company where every single day, you're helping get students great results with their fitness, lose weight, make life-changing results, and also you're just like speaking to your people? Or would you rather just continue managing clients for a software company that you do not give a shit about, right? Whatever it is, you're upselling them on and all this type of stuff. So I think it's a great path. And this is something that the corporate world doesn't really offer, which is because there are so many great niches out there, there's bound to be a business that aligns with something that either A, you're really interested in and know a lot about, or number two, you have experience in. And we know, if you just strike a conversation with somebody around something you're interested in, it doesn't feel like work, right? If you're a fitness guy, somebody asks you for help around the gym, you're enthusiastic about it because it's your thing, you know a lot about it. So I'd say that is like a great activity, is being able just to kind of speak to your people every single day and actually help coach people on something that, you're truly passionate about.
Yeah. I mean, I think of the activities is like, you got to be proactive as a CSM. Like you got to want to go forward and help the people that are in the program, right? You don't want to be reactive. You want to actively reach out to all of your customers, make sure they're on point, make sure they're happy, see what questions they have. And just be a, it's like if you're a real rock star CSM, you're going to be ahead of your clients as opposed to getting run over by all your clients' questions. You're going to be proactively engaging the customers and being ahead of them every step of the way, right? The other thing that's another activity for a high paying CSM is you should be aggressively trying to get anything that you can to boost the business, right? Which would be testimonials, referrals, upsells. You should be planting seeds about the next step in their journey, in their customer journey. Okay, hey, we're gonna get you some amazing results, and then you're gonna go tell all your cousins about us, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. So you want to always be planting seeds. Those are like the main ones, and then like you want to be defending your boss's time as well, right? So the main reason that CSMs will get hired is because they need to get some more time back for the business owner or whoever's creating the business, right? So you want to always be proactively finding ways to take things off of the business owner's plate, right? So that you can be more responsible, you can be that linchpin, and if they have more time, they're going to do better stuff for the business. And then if you have more things, you're going to be more necessary to the company, right? So those are my top three things. What other activities do you think top performing CSMs do, Callum? That would be a good nugget.
Yeah, I think obviously checking in with people seems like quite a very obvious answer, but that's something that people that a lot of people get wrong, right? It's kind of the speed to feedback and the speed to response. If you can make sure that every single day you're answering people's questions like ASAP as soon as they come in, you're eventually going to get over that hump so they can keep moving forward. If like you're driving along, right, and you get hit with a speed bump and it takes you 4 hours to get over that speed bump, then you're going to be a lot more angry, a lot more annoyed, and a lot less likely to kind of continue on the journey, right? If it takes you that long every single time that you have a speed bump to keep moving forward. So the best thing is that whenever you have a client and they need help with something, they reach out for support, is like getting to them as soon as humanly possible, right? And that's going to be a huge benefit not only to the business owner but to the client as well, to make sure they can keep moving forward.
Yeah. I think the other one that's a good activity is touching base with your other employees. Just because like I remember whenever I was with scaling with systems, like we would have so many clients that we would be pulling our hair out, and every now and then you just like reach out to one of the other CSMs and be like, how are you alive, bro? Like, what's going on? And it was a good community, right? It was a good like support network, I guess. So lean into your teammates. I think that's a real important activity to not only just lean into your teammates, but also just like have that community aspect of like, we're in this together. I think that helps. It's like team CSM against the world or whatever, right? So that's always a good vibe to have. And then like always be taking care of yourself. Like if you're not in good health, if you're not sleeping right, if you're not eating right, I think you're going to not be able to perform for your clients as good as you possibly could. Right. So that's another thing to think about as an activity is like, take care of yourself so you can like once your cup is overflowing, you can help other clients as well. So you got to take care of yourself, I think, to be the best version of yourself. So I think that's good.
100%. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah, I think we're good, man. So that was just a little first one. We're going to try and do this every week, Thursdays at 12 Mountain Time. And we're going to basically keep hammering it away, keep talking about, the coaching industry, talking about CSMs, helping people get jobs. That's what we're all about. If you're looking for a high ticket CSM role, where you can make some serious money, reach out to clientsuccessclub.io. And then also if you're a business owner and you're trying to, get your time back and scale your business and need to hire some rockstar CSMs, be sure to reach out to us. I'm pretty sure it's just clientsuccessclub.io/business owners, but you can also reach us on Instagram at Client Success Club. And I think this was pretty cool. So let me know if you guys have any other questions, any other thoughts kind of before we wrap up, Callum?
No, I think that's right. Yeah, obviously, if you're a business owner, you're looking to hire people, experts, right, who actually train, these guys to come in, batteries included is the big thing, right? You know where to go for an appointment setter, you know where to go for a closer. You're just getting hit up daily of all of these people that want to do this role. However, when it comes down to hiring a high ticket CSM, you'll probably, it's tumbleweeds. You have no idea where to look. So definitely lean into us. We don't charge anything. So lean into us, our expertise. And, we can set you up with interviews with people who, are very compatible to your specific business. And ultimately, if you're looking to get into this industry as well, then, book a call, speak with our team, and we can talk about getting you started.
Right out. All right. Talk to you guys in the next one. See ya.